Hi guys! Guess what? Hopefully I have completed Jenny's Lucky Penny. Hopefully. So once again, let me know if there's anything that needs changing. You've really helped me the last time. And as you can tell, it's taken quite some time to add to the story. Been so busy. So we'll just see how this goes. Okay, so excuse me because I'm just an absolute mess. I'm at my caravan now, and this is the only time that I'm able to really get creative. And it's nice and quiet. Okay, are you sitting comfortably? If you are, I shall begin. And I'm sorry if I pause at any time, but I've literally got papers all over the place. Look, you get to see the original. It's in the wrong way around. It's all the original stuff. Now I've just messed around what I've done. Okay, alright. I won't be silly anymore. Okay. Jenny's Lucky Penny. Have you ever found a penny on the ground and picked it up, hoping that all day long you will have good luck? Well, that is exactly what Jenny did. And guess what? She had the most luckiest day ever. Jenny was heading to school in the pouring rain when she spotted the wet penny lying in a puddle. She was already late and had gotten very wet. Her long ginger hair was all tangled and her shoes were covered in mud. But at that very moment Jenny picked up the penny, the rain suddenly stopped, and the warm sunshine appeared from behind the grey clouds. It was as though it had not rained at all. Jenny was completely dry. The pavement was completely dry, and there were no puddles in sight. She placed the penny carefully in her coat pocket. Jenny hurried to school, knowing she was already running late. But when she arrived at the school gate, everyone else was just arriving too. This confused Jenny, because when she woke up, the time on the bedroom clock said 8:30 a.m. and school starts at 8:45 a.m. The journey to school always takes 20 minutes, and that is by taking the shortcut. It was as though time had stood still so that Jenny could get to school on time. All the children hung their coats up on their pegs, which were on the wall next to the classroom door. Before Jenny took her long grey coat off, she remembered that she had placed the penny in her coat pocket. She decided to put it in her burgundy cardigan pocket instead, so that the lucky penny would stay with her all day. Jenny entered the classroom and was about to sit down at her desk to get ready for the first lesson, which happened to be math, and which certainly wasn't her favourite lesson, when a teacher announced to the class that they had to go to the hall for a special assembly. These kind of assemblies didn't happen very often, but when they did happen, the teacher would usually announce it at least a day beforehand. Special assemblies generally would take place to hand out certificates and awards to children and the school staff for great achievements or something extremely outstanding that they'd done. Last year, the school cook received an award for always having a smile on her face when serving the school dinners, and the lollipop lady was given a bunch of flowers for stopping a child from being blown into the road on a very windy day. Jenny was curious to know why they were having this unexpected assembly, and all the way to the hall kept asking the teacher if someone was getting an award. The teacher remained silent, but had a secretive grin on her face as she led the class down the corridor towards the hall. A child at the front of the line held the door open to let the rest of the children enter the hall and take their seats. Once all the classes were sitting quietly, the head teacher joyfully welcomed everyone. "Good morning, everybody," said Mr. Brown, wearing a huge smile on his face. "Good morning, Mr. Brown," replied the children. "Today we have a very special award to present to one of you for the outstanding service and kindness shown to absolutely anyone this person comes into contact with." All the children turned to each other with a confused yet excited look on their faces. "Without further ado," Mr. Brown continued, Please put your hands together for Miss Jenny Stotford." The whole assembly of teachers and children began to applaud and cheer. Jenny looked at her friends, then looked at her teachers, who beckoned her with a hand gesture to stand up. Jenny's face was bright red. In a shy manner, Jenny slowly stood up and walked to the front of the hall. Mr. Brown shook her hand whilst congratulating her on winning the award, then handed her a shiny gold star-shaped trophy. The trophy was quite heavy, and Jenny feared that she would drop it as she walked back to her seat, keeping a tight hold of her reward. Jenny's friend Lisa, who was sat next to her, gave her a really big hug and read the inscription on the trophy. Jenny Stotford, awarded for outstanding service and kindness. At lunchtime, Jenny and her classmates sat at the dining table and opened their lunchboxes. Usually, when Jenny opened her lunchbox, she would find a simple cheese sandwich, a packet of ready salted crisps, some grapes, and a ginger nut biscuit. But not today. Today, as she looked in her box, her mouth began to water, and she was grinning from ear to ear. In front of her was a large round chocolate cake, covered in chocolate icing. The top of the cake had different coloured Smarties decorated in the shape of a smiley face. Jenny showed the cake to her friends, who thought it was amazing and how lucky she was to have a whole chocolate cake for lunch. Of course, it was too much for Jenny to eat all the cake by herself, so she shared it with her friends. After lunch, it was time for PE. This was one lesson Jenny was not very keen on taking part in. She rarely got the ball through the hoop in netball, never managed to hit the ball in rounders, and certainly could not jump over the horse box during gym. Today, however, the teacher decided they were going to do some running. In the field at the back of the school, there was a very large running track. The teacher put the class into groups of 6 and told each group to race each other from one end of the track to the other. In every race that Jenny ran, she came first. She couldn't believe it. Even the class and her teachers were amazed. They cheered and applauded every time she crossed the finish line. Jenny was very tired but extremely pleased with her achievements. At the end of the school day, Jenny rushed home to tell her mum about the most exciting day that she had had. As she approached her house, she noticed a familiar car parked outside. Jenny leaped for joy and eagerly swung open the front door. Sat in the living room was Grandma Nellie and Grandad Arthur. They lived a very long way away, and so it was a very big surprise to have them visit. Jenny gave them both a huge hug and told them all about her day. Grandma Nellie smiled and handed over a present which was wrapped in shiny silver wrapping paper and tied with a large purple and tied with a pink bow. Jenny quickly opened it and pulled out a large purple knitted jumper. She tried it on, and it was way too big. It was as long as a dress, and the sleeves were much longer than Jenny's arms. This really didn't matter to Jenny, though, because this jumper was made with love. Grandad Arthur quickly stood up and announced that it was time to go. "Go where?" Jenny asked. "To the fairground, of course," said Grandad Arthur. Jenny was so excited because the fairground only came to town twice a year, and this would be the first time she would be going with her grandparents. They all put on their coats and off they went. The fairground was only a few streets away in the local farmer's field, so it didn't take long to get there. Jenny's eyes widened in amazement as she glared at the big rides surrounded by bright flashing lights of red, blue, and yellow. The music was very loud, but Jenny didn't mind. She loved to sing and dance any time she heard music, no matter where she was. Grandad Arthur took Jenny to the hoopla stall. They were given 3 hoops which they had to try and get over wooden blocks by throwing them. Each block had a prize on. And guess what? Yes, you guessed correct. All 3 hoops landed on prizes. They won a small white furry teddy bear, a box of chocolates, and a very large jar of sweets. Jenny was jumping for joy. She really was having the best day ever. After Jenny, Grandad Arthur and Grandma Nellie finished eating the most delicious hot dog, Grandad Arthur announced that it was time to head home. It was getting dark and it would soon be time for Jenny to go to bed. Jenny had had so much fun and she didn't want it to end, but she was very tired after having such an exciting day, so off they went. Grandma Nellie tucked Jenny into bed and read her a bedtime story. The story was about the luckiest girl in the whole wide world. Jenny smiled, gave Grandma Nellie a big hug and said, "I'm the luckiest girl because I have had the best day ever." Grandma Nellie kissed Jenny on the forehead as she fell asleep. This really had certainly been Jenny's lucky day. The end. I don't know if that's a boring ending, so any suggestions? I have noticed that there is a few times that I've repeated words such as like announced, like Grandad announced, or the teacher announced, or the head teacher announced, which I might rectify them if I can be bothered. But if it's fine as it is, then I'll leave it as it is. Because it's taken me ages to do this, and it would be nice to actually publish it. So, yes, feel free to give me lots and lots of good criticism. And thank you so much for listening. It has been 12 minutes long. I do apologise for that, but enjoy. Have a happy Sabbath.